The sun was going down in the city of London. The streets were getting dark. Three young men walked down the street after drinking at a local bar. Their names were Mark, Danny, and Pete. Mark was the leader. He was tall with short black hair and always looked for trouble. Danny and Pete just followed him around and did what he said. "I'm bored," Mark said, kicking an empty can on the sidewalk. "Let's find something fun to do." Danny nodded. "Yeah, this night is too quiet." They turned a corner and saw an old stray dog. The dog was thin with gray fur. It limped slowly along the edge of the road, looking for food in the trash. The poor animal looked hungry and tired. Mark smiled and nudged Danny with his elbow. "Hey, watch this," he said. Mark walked up to the dog. The dog looked up at him with sad eyes. It wagged its tail a little, hoping for food or a kind touch. But Mark was not kind. He kicked the dog hard in its side. The dog yelped in pain and fell over. It tried to crawl away, whimpering. The sound was sad and filled with fear. "Do it again," Pete laughed, clapping his hands. Mark smiled and stepped toward the dog again. Danny took out his phone to record the cruel act. None of them noticed the black car that stopped across the street. None of them saw the man who got out and watched them with angry eyes. The man's name was Jason Mills. He looked just like the famous movie star Jason Statham. He had a bald head, strong muscles, and wore a black suit. Mills was driving home after working as a security guard for a rich businessman. When he saw what was happening to the dog, he felt rage build inside him. Mills had been in the special forces before becoming a security guard. He knew how to fight and how to protect the weak. He also loved animals and could not stand to see one hurt. "Hey," Mills shouted as he crossed the street. His voice was deep and commanding. "What do you think you're doing?" The three men turned around. They were still laughing at the dog's pain. When they saw Mills walking toward them, they stopped laughing for a moment. But then Mark stood up straighter, trying to look tough. "Mind your business, old man," Mark said. "It's just a stupid stray dog. No one cares about it." Mills stepped closer. The streetlight shined on his face. Danny's eyes got wide. "Dude," Danny whispered to Mark. "That guy looks exactly like Jason Statham." "I don't care who he looks like," Mark said loudly. "There's three of us and only one of him." Mills looked at the dog, which was still trying to crawl away. Its eyes were full of fear. Then he looked back at the three young men. His face was calm, but his eyes were burning with anger. "You have two choices," Mills said in a quiet voice. "You can say sorry and walk away right now, or you can find out why hurting those weaker than you is a very bad idea." Mark laughed and looked at his friends. "You hear this guy? He thinks he's in one of those action movies." Pete laughed too, but Danny looked nervous. He could sense something dangerous about Mills. "Last chance," Mills said. He stood perfectly still, his hands at his sides. "Walk away now." Mark stepped forward. He was much taller than Mills, but not as strong. "Why don't you make us, tough guy?" Mills sighed. He had hoped to solve this without violence, but sometimes people like Mark only understood one language, and Mills spoke that language very well. "Remember," Mills said, "you chose this." The injured dog watched from the shadows as Mills moved toward the three men. Something was about to happen, something that would change many lives forever. Mark moved first. He swung his fist at Mills' face. Mills did not even blink. He moved his head to the side, and Mark's fist hit only air. Before Mark could try again, Mills grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back. With one quick move, Mills pushed Mark face first into the brick wall of the building next to them. "Ow!" Mark cried out in pain. His nose hit the wall and started to bleed. Danny and Pete stood frozen. They had not expected this. The man who looked like Jason Statham was much stronger and faster than he looked. "Your friend made a bad choice," Mills said to Danny and Pete. His voice was still calm. "What about you two?" Do you want to make the same mistake? Pete took a step back. Come on, Danny. Let's get out of here. But Danny pulled out a small knife from his pocket. Let him go, he shouted at Mills. Mills shook his head. That's an even worse choice than your friend made. Mills pushed Mark to the ground and turned to face Danny. When Danny swung the knife, Mills caught his wrist and squeezed hard. Danny dropped the knife and fell to his knees in pain. Please, Danny begged. You're breaking my wrist. Mills let go of Danny's wrist and picked up the knife. He threw it down a drain in the street. You should be more careful, Mills said. Someone could get hurt with that. Pete had already started running away. Danny got up and followed him. They both ran down the street as fast as they could. Mark was still on the ground. His nose was bleeding, and he looked scared now. Get up, Mills said to him. Mark slowly stood up. He did not look tough anymore. He looked like a scared boy. Why? Mills asked him. Why hurt a dog that did nothing to you? Mark did not answer. He just looked at the ground. Look at me when I'm talking to you, Mills said. Mark looked up. His eyes were full of fear. That dog has done nothing wrong, Mills said. It's just trying to live. Just trying to find food and stay safe. And you hurt it for fun. What does that say about you? Mark still said nothing. I want you to look at that dog, Mills said, pointing to where the injured animal was hiding. Look at what you did. Mark turned and saw the dog. It was shaking with fear. Its eyes were wide and sad. One of its legs was hurt from the kick. I'm sorry, Mark whispered. I'm not the one you need to say sorry to, Mills said. Mark looked confused. You want me to say sorry to a dog? Yes, Mills said. And I want you to mean it. Mark looked at the dog again. Something changed in his face. For the first time, he seemed to see the dog as a living thing with feelings, not just something to hurt for fun. I'm sorry, Mark said to the dog. His voice was quiet but real. Now go, Mills said. And if I ever see you hurting another animal or person, our next meeting will be much worse for you. Mark backed away. Then he turned and ran after his friends. Mills waited until Mark was gone. Then he walked slowly toward the dog. The poor animal tried to crawl away, still afraid. It's okay, Mills said softly. I won't hurt you. He crouched down, making himself smaller. He held out his hand for the dog to smell. The dog looked at him with fear at first. But there was something in Mills' eyes that the dog seemed to trust. Slowly, the dog stopped trying to get away. It sniffed Mills' hand. That's it, Mills said gently. You're safe now. The dog's tail moved slightly. Not quite a wag, but close. Mills looked up and down the street. It was late, and the area was empty now. He could not leave the dog here. It was hurt and needed help. Come on, buddy, Mills said. Let's get you somewhere safe. He slowly picked up the dog. The animal was very light. Too light. It had not eaten well for a long time. Mills could feel its ribs under its dirty fur. Mills carried the dog to his black car and gently placed it on the front seat. First, we need to find a vet who's open late, he said to the dog. Then we'll figure out what comes next. The dog looked at Mills. For the first time, there was a tiny bit of hope in its eyes. Mills drove through the dark streets of London with the injured dog on the seat next to him. He knew of a vet clinic that stayed open late. His friend Sarah worked there. She would help even at this hour. The dog lay still but kept its eyes on Mills. It was still scared but seemed to know that Mills was trying to help. Almost there, Mills said in a kind voice. Just hang on a little longer. They arrived at the small clinic. A sign in the window said closed, but Mills could see lights on inside. He parked and gently picked up the dog. Sarah, Mills called as he knocked on the door. It's Jason. I need help. A woman with dark hair and a white coat opened the door. She looked tired, but when she saw the dog in Mills' arms, she quickly let them in. What happened? Sarah asked as she cleared a table for the dog. Some men were hurting him, Mills said. They kicked him hard. I stopped them. But this little guy needs help. Mills placed the dog carefully on the table. The dog looked around the room with frightened eyes. It's okay, Sarah said to the dog in a soft voice. She gently touched its head. We're going to help you. Sarah checked the dog for injuries. She felt its body, looked at its eyes, and checked its leg where Mark had kicked it. His leg is badly bruised, but not broken, she said. That's good news, but he's very thin and weak. He has some old injuries too. This dog has been on the streets for a long time. Mills watched as Sarah gave the dog some medicine for pain and cleaned its wounds. The dog was calmer now. It seemed to understand it was finally safe. Does he have a name? Sarah asked. Mills thought for a moment. I think I'll call him Chance, he said, because everyone deserves a second chance. Sarah smiled. That's a good name. What happens to him now? Mills asked. Sarah sighed. Well, normally he would go to a shelter, but the shelters are all full. And an older dog like this. She didn't finish her sentence. Mills knew what she meant. Old dogs in shelters often didn't get adopted. They were often put to sleep if no one wanted them. I'll take him, Mills said. He surprised himself with the words. He had never had a pet before. His job kept him busy, and he traveled a lot. Are you sure? Sarah asked. Taking care of a dog is a big responsibility. Mills looked at Chance. The dog was looking back at him. There was something in those eyes, something that connected with Mills. Unsure, Mills said. He needs someone, and maybe I do too. Sarah nodded. You'll need dog food, a bed, bowls, and some medicine for him. I can give you all that tonight. While Sarah gathered supplies, Mills sat next to Chance and gently stroked his dirty fur. The dog's tail moved a little. It wasn't afraid anymore. You're going to be okay, Mills told Chance. No one will hurt you again. Sarah returned with a bag of dog food, medicine, and other supplies. She also gave Mills a collar and leash. I've written down instructions for his medicine, she said. Bring him back in a week so I can check how he's doing. Mills nodded and thanked her. He paid for everything, then carefully picked up Chance again. Let's go home, he said to the dog. Mills carried Chance back to his car. The dog felt a little heavier now, a little more alive. Mills placed him on the front seat again and drove to his apartment. Mills lived in a small but nice apartment on the 5th floor of a building near the river. When they arrived, he carried Chance up the stairs and opened his door. Welcome home, Mills said as he set Chance down gently on the floor. The dog looked around the new place. It slowly walked around, sniffing everything. Mills filled a bowl with water and another with food. Chance came over and drank some water, then ate a little food. Mills made a bed for Chance using some old blankets. The dog went to it and lay down, tired from all that had happened. Mills sat on his couch and watched as Chance fell asleep. The dog finally looked peaceful. Tomorrow will be better, Mills whispered. The next morning, Mills woke up early. For a moment, he forgot about the events of the night before. Then he heard a small sound and remembered. Chance was sleeping on the blankets in the corner of the living room. Mills got up quietly and checked on the dog. Chance opened his eyes when Mills came near. The dog still looked tired, but his eyes were clearer today. When he saw Mills, his tail moved slightly. Good morning, Mills said. How are you feeling today, buddy? Mills filled Chance's water bowl and gave him fresh food. This time, Chance ate more. He was hungry. Mills smiled as he watched the dog eat. First, we need to give you a bath, Mills said. Then we need to get you to a proper vet for a full checkup. Mills called his boss to say he needed the day off. His boss was understanding when Mills explained about rescuing the dog. Mills ran a warm bath. At first, Chance was afraid of the water. He backed away when Mills tried to put him in the tub. It's okay, Mills said gently. This will make you feel better." Slowly, Chance let Mills place him in the warm water. Mills was careful not to hurt the dog's bruised leg. He used dog shampoo that Sarah had given him. As Mills washed away the dirt, he could see that Chance's fur was actually a light golden color, not gray as it had looked before. "You're a handsome boy under all that dirt," Mills said. When the bath was done, Mills dried Chance with a soft towel. The dog seemed to enjoy being clean. He shook himself, and his tail wagged a little more. Later that morning, Mills took Chance to a bigger vet clinic. The vet was a kind older man named Dr. Wilson. "Let's have a look at this fellow," Dr. Wilson said. The doctor gave Chance a complete checkup. He looked at his teeth, listened to his heart, and took some blood for tests. "He's about 7 years old," Dr. Wilson said. "He has some health issues from living on the streets, but nothing we can't fix. The bruise on his leg will heal in a few weeks. He needs good food and medicine for a while." Mills nodded. "I'll make sure he gets everything he needs." Dr. Wilson smiled. "He's lucky you found him. Many street dogs don't get a second chance like this." Mills thought about the name he had given the dog. It really did fit. After they left the vet, Mills took Chance to a pet store. He bought a proper dog bed, good quality food, toys, and a nice collar with a tag that said Chance on one side and Mills' phone number on the other. Back at the apartment, Mills set up the new bed in the corner of the living room. Chance sniffed it, then climbed in and curled up. He seemed happy with his new bed. That evening, Mills sat on his couch watching TV. Chance got up from his bed and slowly walked over. The dog looked at Mills, then at the couch, as if asking permission. "Come on up," Mills said, patting the spot next to him. Chance carefully climbed onto the couch. He settled next to Mills with a deep sigh. It might have been the first time in a long time that the dog felt truly safe. Mills gently stroked Chance's clean fur. The dog closed his eyes in contentment. "You know," Mills said quietly, "I've lived alone for a long time. My job keeps me busy. I don't have much family. It might be nice to have someone to come home to." Chance opened his eyes and looked at Mills. Then the dog laid his head on Mills' leg. It was as if he understood what Mills was saying. Mills smiled. He had saved Chance, but maybe Chance was saving him too. From loneliness, from a life that was too empty. "We're going to be fine," Mills said. "Both of us." As the days passed, Chance grew stronger. His leg healed, and he gained weight. His fur became shiny, and he wagged his tail more often. He followed Mills everywhere around the apartment. Mills started taking Chance for short walks in the park near his building. At first, Chance was nervous around other people and dogs, but slowly he became braver. Mills was patient with him, always making sure Chance felt safe. One week after the rescue, Mills took Chance back to see Sarah at the clinic. "I almost didn't recognize him," Sarah said when she saw Chance. "He looks like a different dog." Mills smiled proudly. "He's doing great, aren't you, buddy?" Chance wagged his tail as if to agree. 2 weeks after rescuing Chance, Mills went back to work. He was a security expert who protected important people. His new job was to guard a famous businessman who was visiting London for a big meeting. Mills worried about leaving Chance alone all day. The dog had become used to having Mills around, but Mills had no choice. He had to work. "I'll be back tonight," Mills told Chance as he put on his black suit. "Be a good boy." Chance watched Mills with sad eyes as he left the apartment. Mills felt bad, but he knew Chance would be okay. He had left plenty of food and water, and some toys to keep Chance busy. At work, Mills met his client, Mr. Parker, at a fancy hotel. Mr. Parker was a rich businessman from America who made computers and phones. Mills stayed near him all day during meetings. "You seem different today," Mr. Parker said to Mills during lunch. "More relaxed." Mills smiled slightly. "I got a dog recently." Mr. Parker nodded. "Dogs are good companions. Loyal, honest, Then he laughed. "And they don't try to steal your business secrets." After the meetings ended, Mills drove Mr. Parker back to his hotel. As they pulled up to the entrance, Mills noticed 3 young men standing across the street. He recognized them immediately. It was Mark, Danny, and Pete, the same men who had hurt Chance. Mills felt anger rise inside him. He hadn't expected to see them again. He wondered if they were following him, but that seemed unlikely. This was probably just bad luck. Mills got out of the car and opened the door for Mr. Parker. The 3 men saw Mills. Mark's eyes widened in fear. He nudged his friends and pointed. "Is something wrong?" Mr. Parker asked, noticing Mills looking across the street. "No, sir," Mills said, "just keeping an eye out." Mr. Parker went into the hotel. Mills was about to follow when Mark started walking toward him. Mills was surprised. He hadn't expected Mark to approach him after what happened. "Hey," Mark called out. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" Mills stayed alert. This could be a trick. "What do you want?" he asked. Mark stopped a few feet away. Danny and Pete stayed across the street, watching nervously. "I wanted to say sorry again," Mark said. He looked different from the night Mills had caught him hurting Chance. Less angry, more humble. "What happened with the dog? It was wrong." Mills studied Mark's face. The young man seemed sincere. "What made you change your mind?" Mills asked. Mark looked down at his feet. "After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about what I did. I never really thought about animals having feelings before. But when you made me look at that dog..." Mills nodded slowly. "His name is Chance," he said. "I adopted him." Mark looked up, surprised. "Really? How is he doing?" "Better," Mills said. "He's getting healthier every day." Mark seemed relieved. "That's good." He paused. "I've been volunteering at an animal shelter since that night, cleaning cages and walking dogs, trying to make up for what I did." Mills was surprised. He hadn't expected this. People can change, he thought. Sometimes they just need a push in the right direction. "That's good to hear," Mills said. "Could I maybe see him sometime?" Mark asked. "The dog, I mean. Chance. I'd like to say sorry to him properly." Mills thought about it. Mark seemed different now. Maybe seeing Chance again would help him continue changing for the better. "Maybe," Mills said. "Give me your number. I'll think about it." Mark gave Mills his phone number. Then he rejoined his friends across the street. Mills watched them walk away. Danny and Pete still looked nervous, but Mark seemed different, more at peace. Mills went into the hotel to continue his job, but his mind kept going back to Mark. People are complicated, he thought. Sometimes the worst people can become better if given a chance. That night, Mills returned home to find Chance waiting eagerly at the door. The dog was so happy to see him that his whole body wiggled with joy. "Did you miss me?" Mills asked, petting Chance's head. Chance barked once, as if to say yes. Mills smiled. He would tell Chance about seeing Mark later. For now, he was just happy to be home with his dog. A month passed. Chance became stronger and happier each day. His golden fur shined, and he no longer limped. Mills took him for long walks in the park every morning and evening. One Sunday, Mills decided to take Chance to a dog park. It would be good for Chance to meet other dogs. Mills was still not sure how Chance would act around other animals. "Let's try something new today," Mills told Chance as he put on his leash. At the dog park, Mills kept Chance on his leash at first. There were many dogs running around and playing. Chance watched them with curious eyes. A woman with a small brown dog walked up to them. "Your dog is beautiful," she said to Mills. "What's his name?" "Chance," Mills said. "I'm still not sure how he does with other dogs. He had a rough life before I got him." The woman smiled. "My dog, Bella, is very friendly. Maybe they can meet." Mills agreed. The woman brought Bella closer. The small dog wagged her tail happily. Chance sniffed her carefully, then wagged his tail too. They like each other, the woman said. Her name was Emma, and she came to the park every Sunday. Mills let Chance off his leash. Chance and Bella ran around together, playing. Mills felt proud watching Chance act like a normal, happy dog. While the dogs played, Mills and Emma talked. She was a teacher at a local school. She asked what Mills did for work. I'm a security expert, Mills said. I protect people who need protection. Emma looked at Mills more closely. You know, you look exactly like that action movie star, Jason Statham. Mills smiled. He heard that all the time. I get that a lot. They watched their dogs play for a while longer. Then Emma had to leave. Will you be here next Sunday? She asked. Mills nodded. I think so. Chance seems to be having fun. Great, Emma said. See you then. On the way home, Mills' phone rang. It was Mark. Mills had been thinking about Mark's request to see Chance again. He had decided to give Mark a chance, just like he had given Chance a chance. Hello, Mills answered. It's Mark, the voice said. I was wondering if I could see the dog sometime, like we talked about. Mills looked at Chance, who was walking happily beside him. Actually, we're at the park near my place right now, if you want to come by. There was silence for a moment. Then Mark said, Really? That would be great. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Mills and Chance waited at the park. Chance was tired from playing with Bella, so he lay down at Mills' feet. Soon, Mark appeared on the path. He was alone this time, without his friends. He walked slowly toward Mills and Chance. When Chance saw Mark, he stood up. His body became tense. He remembered Mark. He remembered the pain. It's okay, Mills said softly to Chance. He won't hurt you again. Mark stopped a few feet away. He looked nervous. Hi, he said to Mills. Then he looked at Chance. Wow, he looks so different. So healthy. He's doing well, Mills said. Come closer, but move slowly. Mark walked forward carefully. He crouched down to be at Chance's level. Hey, buddy, he said softly. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. Chance watched Mark closely. The dog's tail was not wagging, but he didn't seem afraid either. Can I pet him? Mark asked. Mills nodded. Slowly. Mark reached out his hand very gently. Chance sniffed it. Then, to Mills' surprise, Chance moved forward and let Mark touch his head. Mark's eyes filled with tears. I can't believe he's letting me pet him, he said, after what I did. Dogs can be very forgiving, Mills said, more forgiving than people sometimes. Mark petted Chance for a few minutes. Chance relaxed more and even wagged his tail a little. Thank you for letting me see him, Mark said when he stood up. It means a lot. How's the volunteer work at the shelter? Mills asked. Mark smiled. Good. They might hire me part-time soon. I really like working with the animals. Mills nodded. That's good to hear. As Mark turned to leave, he said, You changed my life that night, you know. I'm trying to be a better person now. Mills watched Mark walk away. He felt good about what had happened. Both Chance and Mark had been given second chances. Both were making the most of them. Let's go home, Mills said to Chance. It's been a big day. Chance wagged his tail and followed Mills out of the park. The future looked bright for both of them. 3 months after rescuing Chance, Mills got a special job. He had to provide security for a movie being filmed in London. The movie was an action film, and the star was none other than the real Jason Statham. Mills was excited about this job. He had never met the famous actor who looked so much like him. Everyone always told Mills how much he resembled Statham. I'll be gone for long hours, Mills told Chance. But Sarah will come to walk you during the day. Mills had arranged for Sarah, the vet who first helped Chance, to check on the dog while he was working. She was happy to help. On the first day of the job, Mills arrived at the movie set early. He met with the head of security to get his assignment. You'll be guarding Mr. Statham's trailer, the head of security said. Then he looked at Mills more closely. Wow, you look just like him. That's kind of perfect. Mills went to his post outside the actor's trailer. The movie set was busy with people rushing around, setting up cameras and lights. Around noon, a black car pulled up. Jason Statham stepped out, surrounded by other security guards. The actor was exactly Mills' height and had the same bald head and strong build. As Statham walked toward his trailer, he noticed Mills standing guard. He stopped and stared. Everyone around them fell silent. "This is weird," Statham said, looking at Mills. "It's like looking in a mirror." Mills stood straight. "Yes, sir," he said. "I get that a lot." Statham smiled. "I bet you do. What's your name?" "Jason Mills, sir." Statham laughed. "Even the same first name. That's amazing." He turned to his assistant. "Get a picture of us together." Mills and Statham stood side by side while the assistant took photos with a phone. They looked remarkably alike. "What did you do before security work?" Statham asked. "Special Forces," Mills answered. "Then private security." Statham nodded with respect. "The real deal then, not just playing tough guys like me." During a break in filming, Statham invited Mills into his trailer. They talked about their lives. Mills found the actor to be friendly and down to earth. "You have family in London?" Statham asked. Mills shook his head. "Just my dog, Chance." "Tell me about your dog," Statham said. He seemed genuinely interested. Mills told Statham the story of how he had rescued Chance from Mark and his friends. He described how Chance had been hurt and scared, but was now happy and healthy. Statham listened with serious eyes. When Mills finished the story, Statham said, "You did a good thing there. Those guys needed to be taught a lesson." Mills nodded. "The main guy, Mark, actually changed after that night. He works at an animal shelter now." "Even better," Statham said. "Sometimes people just need a wake-up call." As the day went on, Mills continued his security duties. He watched Statham film a fight scene. The actor did many of his own stunts and was very physical. At the end of the day, Statham approached Mills again. "I have an idea," he said. "How would you feel about bringing your dog to the set tomorrow? We're filming in the park, and there's a scene with a dog in it. But the trainer's dog got sick." Mills was surprised. "You want Chance to be in the movie?" Statham nodded. "If he's well behaved. The scene is simple. The dog just needs to walk next to me for a few shots." Mills thought about it. Chance was well trained now and very calm around people. "I think he could do it," Mills said. "Great," Statham said. "Bring him tomorrow. Oh, and I'd like to double your pay for this." That night, Mills went home and told Chance the news. "You're going to be in a movie tomorrow," he said, petting the dog's head, "with the real Jason Statham." Chance didn't understand the words, but he wagged his tail at Mills' happy tone. Mills gave him an extra treat to celebrate. The next morning, Mills dressed in his security uniform and put Chance on his leash. "Let's go make you a star," he said. They drove to the park where the movie was being filmed. The crew was already setting up cameras and equipment. When Jason Statham arrived, he came straight over to meet Chance. "This is the famous Chance," Statham said, bending down to pet the dog. "He's a handsome fellow." Chance wagged his tail and let Statham pet him. He seemed to like the actor right away. "I think this is going to work perfectly," Statham said. The movie scene was set up in the park. Jason Statham would walk through the park with Chance by his side. It was a small part, but important to the story. "The dog belongs to my character," Statham explained to Mills. "It shows that tough guys can have soft spots too." Mills watched as the director talked to Statham about the scene. Then the director came over to meet Chance. "Will he follow directions?" the director asked Mills. "He's very smart," Mills said, "and he listens well." They did a practice run. Statham walked with Chance through the park. Chance stayed perfectly by his side, just as he did with Mills on their daily walks. "Perfect," the director said. "Let's film it." Everyone got ready. The cameras rolled. Statham and Chance did the scene perfectly on the first try. Chance seemed to enjoy being part of the action. "Your dog is a natural," the director told Mills. "He's better than most animal actors we work with." They filmed a few more scenes with Chance. In one, Statham sat on a bench with Chance at his feet. In another, they played fetch together. Chance did everything right. During a break, Statham sat with Mills and Chance under a tree. "Your dog is amazing," Statham said. "How long have you had him?" "About 3 months," Mills said. "But we bonded quickly." Statham nodded. "I can see that. He trusts you completely." As they talked, Mills noticed 3 people watching them from a distance. It was Mark, Danny, and Pete. They had probably come to the park and seen the movie being filmed. Mark waved when he saw Mills looking. Mills waved back. "Friends of yours?" Statham asked. "Not exactly," Mills said. He told Statham about his second meeting with Mark and how the young man had changed. "Life is funny that way," Statham said. "People can surprise you. Change when you least expect it." When filming ended for the day, the director came to thank Mills and Chance. "We'd like to use Chance again tomorrow, if that's okay," he said. "Just for one more scene." Mills agreed. It was good to see Chance enjoying himself so much. The dog seemed to love all the attention. As Mills and Chance were leaving, Mark approached them. Danny and Pete stayed far back, still afraid of Mills. "I saw you filming," Mark said. "Is Chance going to be in a movie?" Mills nodded. "A small part. He's doing very well." Mark smiled and bent down to pet Chance. This time, Chance wagged his tail happily when he saw Mark. He was no longer afraid of the young man. "I got the part-time job at the shelter," Mark said. "And I'm going back to school too, studying to be a vet tech." "That's great," Mills said. He was proud of how far Mark had come. Mark looked over at Statham, who was talking to the director. "Is that really Jason Statham? You two look so much alike." "Yes, that's him," Mills said. "Chance is going to be in his movie." Mark shook his head in wonder. "Amazing how things work out. If we hadn't..." He stopped, not wanting to mention hurting Chance. "Everything happens for a reason," Mills said. "Sometimes good things come from bad situations." Mark nodded. "Well, I better go. My shift at the shelter starts soon." He petted Chance once more. "See you around, buddy." Mills watched Mark walk back to his friends. The 3 young men left the park together, talking and laughing. But it was different now. They weren't looking for trouble anymore. That night, Mills took Chance for their usual evening walk. As they passed a newsstand, Mills saw a magazine with Jason Statham on the cover. The headline read, "Statham's new movie features rescue dog." Mills bought the magazine. Inside was a short article about the movie, mentioning that Statham had insisted on using a real rescue dog in the film. "You're famous already," Mills told Chance as they walked home. Chance didn't care about being famous. He was just happy to be with Mills, walking through the quiet streets of London as night fell. The next day, Mills and Chance returned to the movie set for the final scene. This one was more complex. Statham would be running through the park with Chance, escaping from bad guys. "Can Chance run alongside me?" Statham asked Mills. "Yes," Mills said. "He loves to run." The scene went perfectly. Chance ran next to Statham, keeping pace exactly. The director was thrilled. "That's a wrap for Chance," the director announced when they finished. "Let's give a round of applause for our canine star." Everyone on the set clapped and cheered. Chance wagged his tail, enjoying the praise. Mills felt a swell of pride watching his dog. Statham came over to say goodbye to Chance. "You're a great actor, boy," he said, petting Chance's head. Then he turned to Mills. "And you're a great owner. What you did for this dog, it matters." Mills nodded. "He's done just as much for me." Before leaving, Statham gave Mills his private phone number. "Stay in touch," he said. Maybe we can work together again sometime. 6 months after Mills rescued Chance, the movie was finished and ready to be shown in theaters. Mills received a special invitation to the premiere in London. The invitation was for both him and Chance. "We're going to a fancy movie event," Mills told Chance as he put on his best suit. He had bought a special collar with a bow tie for Chance. They arrived at the premiere in a car sent by Jason Statham. The street outside the theater was full of people and cameras. Reporters and fans waited to see the movie stars arrive. When Mills and Chance stepped out of the car, people looked confused at first. Some thought Mills was Jason Statham. Then the real Statham arrived in the car behind them. Statham greeted Mills and Chance warmly. "The stars of the show," he said, smiling. A reporter came over with a camera crew. "Mr. Statham, can you tell us about the dog in your movie?" Statham put his hand on Mills' shoulder. "This is Jason Mills and his dog Chance. Chance is a rescue dog with an amazing story. Mills saved him from abuse, and now Chance is a movie star." The reporter looked interested. "Can you tell us more about this rescue story?" Mills told the story of how he had found Chance being hurt by 3 young men and how he had stopped them and saved the dog. He didn't mention Mark by name, but did say that one of the young men had changed and now worked at an animal shelter. "That's incredible," the reporter said. "And now this rescue dog is in a major movie. What a happy ending." Inside the theater, Mills and Chance were given special seats near Statham. Before the movie started, the director stood up to speak. "I want to thank everyone who worked on this film," the director said. "And I want to give special thanks to our surprise star, Chance the dog, and his owner Jason Mills. Their real-life story inspired us to change part of our movie to include a rescue dog character." Everyone applauded. Mills felt proud of how far Chance had come. From a hurt, scared stray to a movie premiere. It was amazing. The movie began. When Chance appeared on the big screen, walking beside Statham, people in the audience cheered. Chance, sitting beside Mills, perked up his ears at the sound of his own barking from the movie. After the premiere, there was a party. Many famous people came to meet Chance and hear his story. Mills told it again and again. One of the people who came to meet Chance was Emma, the woman from the dog park with the small brown dog Bella. She had been invited by Statham after Mills mentioned her. "I can't believe Chance is a movie star now," Emma said. "Bella will be jealous." Mills smiled. He had been meeting Emma at the dog park every Sunday. He liked her more and more each time. As the night went on, a reporter asked Mills what was next for Chance. "Chance doesn't need to be a movie star," Mills said. "He just needs to be a happy dog." And he is. That night, after the excitement of the premiere, Mills and Chance went home to their quiet apartment. Chance went straight to his bed, tired from all the attention. Mills sat on the couch, thinking about everything that had happened since that night when he had seen 3 young men hurting a stray dog. His life had changed in ways he never expected. He had a loyal friend in Chance. He had a new friend in Jason Statham. He was getting to know Emma better each week, and he had even helped Mark turn his life around. All because he had stopped to help a dog in need. The next morning, Mills took Chance for their usual walk in the park. It was a beautiful day. As they walked, Mills saw a familiar face coming toward them. It was Mark, walking a dog from the shelter. "I saw you on TV last night," Mark said. "At the movie premiere." Mills nodded. Chance did well in the movie. Mark smiled. "I told everyone at the shelter that I know that dog. No one believed me until they saw the news." They walked together for a while, talking about Mark's job and studies. The dog from the shelter was shy but friendly. "I have this dog for the weekend," Mark explained. "We take turns giving the shelter dogs home experiences. It helps them get adopted." Mills looked at Mark with respect. The young man had truly changed. He was making a difference now. As they were about to go their separate ways, Mark said, "You know, that night when you caught us, it was the worst night of my life, but also the best. It changed everything for me. Mills understood. Sometimes we need to hit bottom before we can start climbing up. Mark nodded. Thanks for giving me a second chance, just like you gave Chance. They said goodbye, and Mills continued his walk with Chance. The dog trotted happily beside him, healthy and strong, his golden fur shining in the sun. Mills thought about how one small action can change many lives. By saving Chance, he had not only given the dog a new life, but had also helped Mark find a better path. And Mills' own life was richer and more meaningful now. We did good, buddy, Mills said to Chance. Chance looked up at him with trusting eyes and wagged his tail. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the feeling behind them. Love, safety, home. That was all Chance had ever wanted. And now, thanks to a chance encounter with a man who looked like Jason Statham, it was what he had. As for the real Jason Statham, he kept in touch with Mills and Chance. Sometimes he would visit them when he was in London. He even talked about making another movie with Chance. But for Mills, the greatest reward was much simpler. It was seeing Chance happy and healthy. It was knowing he had made a difference. And it all started because he had stopped to help the dog in need.